I'm Colleen Mary Yates II, a descendant of the Hemmings and Hughes families who were here enslaved at Monticello. I'm standing here at the Contemplative Site, a dedicated space for reflection, remembrance, and contemplation on the lives of the people who were enslaved by Thomas Jefferson. As a descendant, this site holds a special meaning for me. Finally, those who were enslaved here at Monticello will have their names inscribed on these panels. I'm honored to share the story of this site and the collective contributions of the many individuals who have played a role in its realization.
When you think of the word memorial, you tend to think of things that are monumental in scale, that they are above the scale of a human person. And we didn't necessarily want something like that here at Monticello. And while this contemplative space will serve as a tribute to the people who were enslaved here, it is less figural than that. What we've done is basically transform our idea of what is possible in the monumental, what is a memorial, and transformed it into a contemplative site.
The contemplative site brings us all in confrontation of one of the most brutal acts human beings can perform upon one another, the act of enslavement of another human. There are two things that I believe bring comfort in difficult moments of this kind of epiphany. One is being in proximity to the authentic experience and understanding of those people. By locating the contemplative site parallel to this route of labor that was the route supplying water to the mountaintop, we sense and feel the presence of these thousands of footsteps. The other thing that brings great comfort is proximity to nature. Nature is the force that binds all human beings together in life.
At the outset, we knew immediately that we needed to pull in a certain group of stakeholders to make these decisions. And paramount to making those decisions were the descendant community. What did they want to see in a memorial to their enslaved ancestors? We came down to a certain set of values that we used to inform our search for a designer.
There were a lot of challenges on a project like this. Scale, proportion, materiality, circulation. We also know that when we brought curiosity and empathy to this project, we had to know that we're just architects. We needed a full team to be able to support us in this process, but also to be informed by this descendant community. That was a critical part of what we wanted to do.
It is finding the authentic story in a specific place that can be the most influential thing on the form of a design.
We chose this site here because it is centrally placed in the visitor experience at Monticello. It's at the end of the vegetable garden, end of Mulberry Row, which was the plantation main street, and it's also adjacent to the gardens that face the west side of Monticello. And so this is a place that brings a lot of different elements of the history of Monticello together. We have the labor and the triumph of the enslaved people and enslaved families, but also the ideas of freedom and democracy as expressed in Jefferson's writings.
How do you tell that whole sweep of the African American story in a relatively short moment when people are there? I think you do that in part by recognizing the individual.
The names on the wall are arranged in chronological order by date of birth or the first instance that they show up in Thomas Jefferson's written records. We spoke with descendants about how they wanted the names organized, and it ended up being best to represent them in chronological order. The beauty of that is that it shows the evolution of the enslaved community through time, so that these names are grouped by people who would have lived and worked here together. It is a memorial to the people who were enslaved here. It includes all of the names of the people Thomas Jefferson enslaved, and spaces to add more should we find any through research. But the idea is that it is also an intentional space for people to come and reflect.
If future generations deem this contemplative site successful, it will be because of deep listening and deep collaboration.
It's a place where we want to make sure that people who come to this space from all walks of life are going to be able to have that moment of reflection and be able to take away something that really is deeply personal to them.
We hope that everyone feels called to spend time here in the contemplative site. It is a place that we have intentionally made decisions that would allow people to interact with the space, and we hope that our visitors, that descendants, that other people who come here to the contemplative space will spend time giving attention to each of these names on the wall.
As I look at these names and think about all the people who were held in bondage here, including my ancestors, I appreciate what this space has come to represent. This site serves as a permanent space for reflection for all people, descendants and visitors alike, to consider the lives of those enslaved at Monticello.